You may not consider yourself to be a leader. You just see yourself to be a business owner or an executive. And that's largely the problem. And it's our conversation today on the podcast. Let's jump in. Welcome to Business Growth Blueprint, the podcast for faith-driven business owners who want to grow in profitability, leadership, and culture. I'm your host, BJ O'Neill, the Coach's Coach, a founding partner with John Maxwell Certified Leadership, best-selling author, and business owner, and I help equip business owners just like you with the tools to build something great, because every breakthrough starts with a blueprint. Most leaders don't have a trust problem. They actually have a trust gap. Now, this episode, and I'm going to share some things with you that you're going to have to buckle up on, right? This is as we say here all the time, to be unclear is to be unkind, and I don't want to be unkind, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Over the years, I have counseled hundreds of business owners, and business coaches on this very idea and this very topic about leadership and the influence of the business owner and their leaders. And again, you may have 3 employees, you may have 10. It doesn't matter. It's all relative. But you must begin to shift the way you see yourself. And I hear all the time, hey man, I just own this roofing company. I don't consider myself to be, leader-like material. Look, when you have, number 1, influence. Number 2, when you have authority, you are a leader, right? And if you don't, here's the risk. If you're not growing yourself, and if you don't see yourself as you actually are, here's what's going to happen. Somebody else is going to take the crown of leader. And that's not healthy, especially in smaller business environments. That's what can improve just toxicity. That's what can improve confusion, and you can control it. And look, I get it. You may go, I don't want to be a leader. I want somebody else to do that part of it. It does not work that way. Now, that's true that in a bigger environment, sure, you can have more of a role that's more integrated into the actual daily function of the business. Lots of people who own businesses and don't actually work in them. It's a little different, but that's not the norm by any stretch of the imagination, all right? Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no guidance, a people fall, right? And so when we're just kind of doling out tasks, when we're just creating, this is what needs to happen today, this week, this month, and we're not making sure that how we are interacting with both our team as well as our customers, our vendors, gets problematic, right? And so again, it's about a gap, right? And you can't do anything about it if you don't identify the gap. So what are the gaps? Well, the gaps are this right here. It's built through patterns and broken through patterns. In other words, it's the daily things that you do. It's the way that we interact with somebody. It's the email that we sent. It's the meetings or the lack thereof communication. It's the sporadic ideas that we started on it and we didn't stop. We didn't finish. Like that's all that stuff is a pattern. And you don't fix it overnight. You go through it one pattern at a time. All right. So here's 5 specific things that oftentimes as leaders, we get wrong. Number 1, we talk more than we listen. And this is a balancing act, especially when you look through the lens from a faith perspective. There's a lot of different, I don't want to say controversy, but there's a lot of conversation about it maybe, depending upon the personality and your experience as the business owner. For example, those that have been abused, when I say abused, because of their leadership style, they've ended up over the years of having a lot of turnover. And maybe that's you. And we look at that and we're like, you know what? I got to run this business. I got to have people, but people drive me nuts. Well, what if, brace for impact, what if that one of the reasons why they drive you nuts is it's oftentimes you. And we talk more, we say more, we direct more, and we don't receive input. And so what do we got to do? We have to fix it. That's a pattern, right? And so let's use we'll use a meeting as an example. I can't stand meetings personally. I think that we are an over meeting culture. Oftentimes, I think most people, I know this is controversial, I don't care. Most people have more meetings because they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what to do. And so if I just talk a lot and we just, we make this 10-minute meeting an hour and a half, you know who you are. And it's like, oh, I was productive, right? But the whole time we just monologued the entire time while the team sits around, team of 2 or team of 200 sits around and just like, oh my gosh, like this is painful, right? And so we've got to listen. So you got to break the habit, break the chain. Even if you like, this is the idea, this is the direction, this is what I'm going to do, be humble enough to go, I'm going to receive information from the team. We're going to have a meeting about it. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be timed, 20 minutes, start on time, end on time. And we're going to get, like meetings by themselves, by the way, just as a side note, that we don't have to have every single one of those to like talk about, life. Some of them can, that's fine. But do that in different ways. Your meeting should have a structure. Get to business, move on with your life, and let people go get productive. But let one of those meetings be all about, hey, I want to hear from you. What you think, what you say. Number 2, leaders say one thing and then do another, right? And so sometimes this is a pattern, right? Where again, a lot of entrepreneurs, every day is like just a different way to think about the business, which is dangerous. And so we spit out one thing, we send the email, the text, that we have the phone call, hey, you know what I want to do? X, Y, Z, or whatever. And then all of a sudden our actions are very, very different than what we've said. It's like, wait a minute, I thought you said we were not going to do that anymore. Or I thought you said you wanted us to do this. And you're like, oh, I did? Right? And you got to be very, very careful of being impulsive with your communication. That's a pattern. And you got to trap that. So that's biblically, think before you speak, like process that. Here's a great way to do it. If you wake up with the idea, and you have not written it down, that's a starting point. Write it down, sit on it for 24 hours, unless it's an emergency, sit on it for 24 hours. And I've been willing to bet that the next day you'll read what you thought and you're going to look at that and you're like, nah, I don't know. Right? That's very normal. That's what visionaries oftentimes do. But we got to protect the opportunity that I'm making sure that what I'm going to say, the direction I'm going to give, the rules that we're going to create, the policies that we're going to create, all this stuff, that I follow it too. Number 3, leaders oftentimes when we get things wrong, we protect ourselves instead of their people. And I know there's a lot of ways you can go here, right? And this falls underneath the idea that as you're making business decisions, you got to think about your team. You got to think about the people who are going to carry out and execute what it is that you got to do. The salespeople, the technicians, the comptrollers, the finance folks, the developers, if you're in technology, right? Like, how does this impact them? And I get it. You're going to be like, well, but I own the business. I can make any decision that I want. You sure can. And you're obligated to. But if you want to build a long-lasting, stable, sustaining business that you're proud of, that's bringing out provision, that you're improving its profitability, that you're being able to hire more people, pay them better, it is about the people. Now, sure, there are some business models that don't require as much team as others. Doesn't matter. Like when you're making a decision, it cannot just be about how does this affect me? You must think about how does it affect them, right? Recently, actually, like within the last day or two, I saw a story. I don't know exactly when it happened. It happened not that long ago, where Meta laid off 1,400 or so people. And so Optics matter, by the way. And I don't know. I'm sure this wasn't intentional. Just somebody didn't think this through. The majority of that 1,400 was in Seattle. And literally the same day that those 1,400 were laid off, which again, they're in a model where they're realizing that they can be more efficient. That's a part of growing a business. I know it hurts a lot of people. I get that. But they parked Mark Zuckerberg's $300 million yacht in the Sound in Seattle. So here's 1,400 people who got an email, and here comes Mark's $300 million yacht. Now, look, arguably, he spends $300 million bucks on a yacht. That employed a lot of people to build that yacht, right? So I'm all capital. Let's do it, right? That he took the risk. He started it. He's gone through the lawsuits. He's owed every right to buy whatever he wants. But you're cutting 1,400 people to make it more of an efficient model, and then you drag the biggest boat in the Sound where everyone can see it. Wasn't a good look at all. Number 4, we confuse as leaders activity with presence, right? And so, look, you got to build a relationship. There's AI. Everybody's talking about AI and how it's going to change everything. And sure, it's a tool. We use it in our business coaching system. It's totally ingrained in multiple ways. But what it cannot do, and what it will never be able to do, is to replace relationships. Relationships matter. Your customers matter. That's a relationship. Your vendors, the things that you've got to purchase to sell and to provide as a service of your business, that relationship matters. And so if all you're doing is you're active with those people and you think that you're being present, that's not the same thing. You have to be intentional with your time and your effort to be present just to absorb the relationship, right? How are they doing? How's the team doing? Like, I'll be honest, like, I don't like negativity. I think it's a cancer. But don't confuse when somebody's telling a real problem. Like I'll be one of the first ones to raise my hand and go, a blind spot for BJ is by far when I hear somebody start to just, rail on something, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. But it might be a legit problem. And so you got to engage and just hear them out as to, but how's the problem affecting them? If you want rock star winner personnel who embody and take full responsibility of their role, the challenges of the business are going to affect them personally. And you can't let that annoy you. And I do sometimes. It can just drive me nuts. Now, again, if they venture off into being negative for the sake of being negative, that's not what I'm referring to. I am a fan of like, hey, get it off your chest, say it once, let's go solve it now. Like, stop talking about it and let's go solve it. So when you're in that moment, you got to be empathetic and you got to listen. I can totally see how that would affect you. But if you're just being task-driven, you're in meetings all the time, that's not the same thing as just being truly present with them. Last one is leaders, when what they get wrong, oftentimes, you ready? Skip the hard conversations. Oh my gosh, I've seen this happen so many times with the salespeople, right? Where you have a framework, even a script. You got somebody who you just love. They got a great personality, whatever, but they're just not following the rules. All right, I'm not the greatest rule follower, but at the end of the day, we have to have hard conversations when somebody is not doing their part of the job that they signed up for. In one easy way, if you don't have call it whatever you want, SOP, a key performance indicator sheet, whatever, that basically gives clarity to what their role is and what they are to do in that business. That's why they are there. But when you don't have that, now there's a lot of ambiguity. And so we got to be unclear is to be unkind. And I don't want to be unkind. You got to have that hard conversation. It doesn't mean you have to be mean. It doesn't mean that you have to offend them. This is not, and here's the reason why so many people avoid the hard conversation. They don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, you won't hurt their feelings when you have the conversation around just the job function and the job performance separate from who they are in Christ. Believers or non-believers, right? They are great people. And oftentimes, if they're not doing a great job, you do have to ask the question, are they the right gift mix for that role? That's a different conversation, but in reality, that's a huge reason oftentimes. And so then we're going to, as the leader, as the business owner, as the executive, we will look around the room and like, I don't understand what's going on. And it's like, well, you've not talked to them with transparency and candor to get to the actual problem. So the longer you delay that conversation, the more problems are going to show up. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a moment. This is called the mirror question. You're looking in the mirror and you're looking for reflection, right? And I want you to pick one of those 5 things that stung a little bit, okay? Not the one that you think that your team would say. I'm talking the one that when I mentioned it, you wanted to ignore me. That one. Like, you're like, ooh, right? Like, and then that's the one you start with. In other words, it's like, look, leadership is a constant development, right? Business growth is a constant development. We're never there. It's a journey, and we're not done until we're gone. In other words, as leaders, as an influence, like it's a constant journey, and we should never just think that, I've got this whole thing figured out. So take one of those. If you try to do it all, you won't do any. So start somewhere, take one of them, and give the imagination that you're looking in the mirror, and you're like, BJ, the reason why that one stung so much is you know it to be true. Let's do something about it. As you work through that one, then you can go to another one, and because you need to be myopic on the strategies in developing yourself as a leader. It first starts with transparency with you. All right, and the more you do that, and the quicker you do that, the better that you're going to improve your team, your customers, your vendors, and you'll be shocked at the atmosphere and the culture that you'll be able to create. Hey, join me on the next episode where we're going to get nitty gritty and talk about the 3 conversations that every business owner is avoiding that's stalling your growth. Join me.